I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:01. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Chang? Councilmember Davies?
Here.
Councilmember Smith?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Power?
Here.
Mayor Pogencourt?
Here.
Councilmember Chang is absent tonight. Thank you.
Okay, we'd like to have our invocation with Michelle Desmond from the Vineyard Church. Welcome.
Saying I'm short? No. Would you bow your heads, please? Father God, thank you for your presence here tonight. Lord, I just ask that your dew of blessing would just be poured out upon the proceedings and the lives of those represented here, the council and the attenders. Lord, would you bless them? Thank you for this city that we live in. Lord, it's so beautiful, filled with kind and generous people, and we thank you for that, Lord. I ask that your wisdom would reign here in every decision made, that your peace would flow over the discussions and any concerns. Lord, may your love bind everything together, Lord, and we ask this in the name that is above all names. Amen.
Amen. While you're standing, I would like you to take a few moments to remember Lynn Eckert in your thoughts and prayers. She passed away this week. She was a very loyal, caring woman for our American Legion. She was commander, always on top of everything, and very giving in herself and with the vets. And we would just like to honor her at this point. Okay, Jeanette, can you do our pledge, please?
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, can we have community engagement reports, Keith? Mr. Budge?
Thank you, Mayor Pogencourt, Council. Before I say anything, I just want to say Lynn Eckert worked very closely with her, and just what a special person she was. Her leadership at the American Legion really helped enhance a relationship with the city. As the city liaison with our DFW and American Legion, it's a huge loss, and just thoughts and prayers to her husband and family.
Thank you, you said that well. And also, she was nominated for Woman of the Year this year as well.
Yeah, she was one of our extraordinary women of Tehachapi that we honored in March. So.
Yes. Great lady.
And before I move on to my report, which is appropriate because it's honor flight that we are going to talk about tonight, I wanted to introduce new members of my team, the Community Engagement Communications team. So Bailey Damian. Bailey is a new member. She's joined us. She formerly was with the City of Lancaster and TVRPD, and she's a great addition to the team. So you'll get to see her face around at our community events and helping out with our communication efforts. Priscilla Calderon. Priscilla joined us last week. Priscilla is our intern. So new to this year's budget, the council approved an intern position, and thanks to the current Economic Development Foundation and their KICK program, Priscilla put in her application and she knocked it out of the park with an interview with us, and we're happy to bring her on board. So we just ran her around all last week with all the 4th of July activities and farmers market. So wanted you to get to see these faces because they're going to be very involved over the next several weeks, in helping with everything that we do. And just a little bit more, current Economic Development Foundation with this intern position, they are paying for half of her position. So that's a great program that they've put together, and we're one of the inaugural cities, one of the first cities to be a part of that program. All the others have been private business, so being a municipal government, it was easy for Richard Chapman at current EDC to say thumbs up to the city of Tehachapi with as close as we work with them. So just wanted to share that. So, thank you. Steve Miles?
He's running late.
Yes.
Yeah, I just got a text from dispatch and they said he had called and he's running late. So I think we can move forward with the presentation, and if he gets here, he can say a few words.
Okay.
But I would say move forward with the presentation.
Okay, sounds good.
That's
And then
okay.
maybe when he does arrive, if it's after, we can have a photo. Okay, great. And very, it's the timing of things, I think, are meant to be, because it was something that we were talking about a few weeks ago, and we decided to wait until after the 4th of July, before we made this donation to Honor Flight. This was one of Lynn Eckert's projects that she got to work with. So, this was something that, with working with her last year, happy to do it again this year. That what we'd like to do with council approval is that we make a donation to Honor Flight of Kern County. We'd like to donate $3,000, and for their program to send a veteran and a caregiver, I believe it's about $1,500. So this should send 2 veterans and 2 caregivers or escorts with them. And then the one thing that we ask, and they always have, is make sure that a Tehachapi veteran gets to go. So with your approval, we'd like to give a donation on behalf of the city to Honor Flight of Kern County in the amount of $3,000. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have been on the Honor Flight, and it's a remarkable thing that you whizzed through at Washington, D.C. in three days. And is there a possibility that we could put that $3,000 in Lynn's name?
That's excellent.
We absolutely can ask Steve to make sure that her name is associated with this donation with as closely as we've worked with her and the American Legion and VFW.
Great, thank you.
Be happy to do that.
Okay.
So it's a simple presentation, but it would be nice, I think, if we had a motion to move forward with this donation, and then we can facilitate with Mr. Budge and Mr. Miles when he gets here a photo and maybe a press release of sorts.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make the motion to donate $3,000 to Honor Flight in honor of Lynn Eckert and to Tehachapi local residents to attend.
Second.
Third.
And then all those in favor?
Yes. Oh, I thought she had to do roll call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Councilmember Davies?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith? Mayor
Yes.
Pro Tem Power?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gordon?
Yes.
4-0 vote, motion carried.
Okay, thank you, Keith. Consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine and non-controversial by city staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion if no member of the council or audience wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired by anyone, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the city council concerning the item before the action is taken. Staff recommendations are shown in caps. Do I have any comment from the audience? Council?
Motion to approve as presented?
Second.
Councilmember Davies?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Power?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gordon?
Yes.
4-0 vote, motion carried.
Okay, public comment. Do we have any public comments?
We have Claudia Elliott.
Thank you. I'm going to try to talk as fast as I can. Is this at the right height?
But you can pull
No,
it
you
down.
can pull
Is
it
it better?
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's apparently been discussion lately about why I cover matters related to litigation between the city and the water district and whether I am biased. So I hope to talk fast enough to say what I have in 3 minutes. I cover the litigation because it's the public's business. It's not the city's business. It's not the water district's business. It's the public's business. Last week, a city official suggested, but did not discuss with me, that I misquoted him intentionally to prevent harm to the water district. I stand by my reporting. It's hard to talk fast when you can't breathe.
That's fine.
If someone says that they've been misquoted, but they don't bring that to me, I can hardly address it. And I hardly think the water district needs any help from me. A few days later, the CEO of Greenbrier, developer of Sage Ranch, sent me the email that I've distributed to council members and the city clerk, stating that my reporting about Sage Ranch is biased, and suggested that because he claimed I'm dating someone Greenbrier has sued. The CEO of Greenbrier has previously threatened to sue me and has distributed news releases misrepresenting my reporting. Now he's telling me that, quote, the whole town is talking about me being seen with someone who he incorrectly assumes I'm dating. The same person, the CEO of Greenbrier, put out a news release a few days ago, which I also gave you a copy of, which claims, it's about Sage Ranch, it claims that the city, that Greenbrier has, quote, the support from senior staff of the city to reapprove this project regardless of any other actions. City staff had no comment about this claim or others made in that news release. Does it mean the claims in this widely distributed news release are true? I shouldn't have to say this at a city council meeting, but I'm not dating anyone. Barely a year and a half, as most of you know, my husband of 37 years dropped dead just a block or so from here, and I'm still trying to find my way forward from that. If indeed people are talking about me, taking photos and sending them to the CEO of Greenbrier, I find that very disturbing, because no one has asked me why I might be seen with the individual referenced in the email. I know and spend time with lots of people, some of whom I first met as a source for a story. This is a small town. I've known many of you a long time. When I was editor of Tehachapi News, Corey Costello emailed his column to me every week for editing. If I have a question about the Booster Club or the School District Facility Advisory Committee, I send email to Corey at his personal email address, not his city address. When I interviewed him about his marathon run, we met at Kelsey's and I bought his lunch. I met Kebudge years ago when I wanted to hire him to work at Tehachapi News. And after my retirement, he did work there before later joined the city. I wish Tyler Napier was here. I've quoted him as your assistant public director many times, and also in his role as a firecracker of a school board member. And his auto detailing crew has seen my car at its very worst. I've known Councilmember Smith and his wife Becky since we were teenagers. Councilmember Davies and I have long-term friends in common. On the Water District side, I once met the board president for a conversation about a friend we had in common who had died. I think John Abels did some electrical work at the news office for me once, and I knew Joseph Sash's father years ago when he was on the school board. My point is that people in a small town have many different relationships with each other. In big cities, reporters may cover news about people they don't know. That's not likely in a small town. If you think I misquoted you or reported something in error, please let me know so I can fix it. If you think my reporting is biased, let's talk about it. But perhaps we ought not meet at a local restaurant or walk together on the street, because apparently that might lead some people to think we're dating. Thank you. Did I make my 3 minutes?
No, but you're fine.
Well, thanks.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
so much.
Sorry.
Do we have any other public comments?
We have Mr. Roller. Did you want to speak on a specific item in the agenda?
Well, I was talking about the CEQA exemption that the city is planning on.
For item 6?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have you up at that time.
Okay.
Okay, city clerk reports.
So we're actually at 5 city engineer reports.
Oh, sorry. Andrew?
Good evening, Mayor Court, council
Good
members.
evening.
Tonight I bring to you the notice of completion for the BK Theater expansion project. We're done. We finished the completion. It was a shell-only contract with GoJRN Construction. We have some minor work remaining with TCTA, but the shell work and the contract with GoJRN are complete. We've since filed the notice of completion with Kern County, so this is a informational only item, but I am happy to answer any questions if you guys have any. Otherwise, it's just a notice of completion.
What was the square footage of the addition? I can't remember.
I want to say about 200.
200. Which they will compact and use unbelievably well.
Correct. Yeah, it gives the kids a staging area over winter for sure. That was one of the chief items we were addressing, is the ability for them to stage people not in the stage, but also not kick them out to Centennial Plaza, so the kids are able to.
Is that right in the back of the stage area?
Yep. It's right off the back. Yep.
Yeah.
If you'd like to take a tour, I'd be happy to show you.
Oh, I would.
The next production is Sound of Music, so I think there's going to be a lot of people that
Oh,
are going to
sure,
have to
sure.
facilitate around, so just in time.
Great. Any other questions?
Good project.
Yes.
And we don't have much room
Definitely.
didn't have much room to do it, but every square foot counts, so good project.
Well, when I came 53 years ago, that theater was nothing like it looks like now. It's beautiful now compared. Seats were broken, they were wood and flipped up like a stadium seat. And yeah, it's very different and beautiful now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Those 200 feet will mean a lot to the actors. Those stages are unbelievably tight. So that's be a great place to store stuff, but also for the actors to maneuver and safer. So good job.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Uh-huh. Okay, Assistant Manager Report, Mr. Costello.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Court and council members. So just a quick note, you have some supplemental information for the staff report in front of you, as well as an amended resolution. There's also copies in the public folder as well, as we address some legal manifestos we've been sent, so some of that supplemental information was required. So what I'm bringing forward tonight is a public hearing and adoption of a resolution approving the City of Tehachapi's 6-cycle housing element. We've got some of our consultants from Lisa Weiss Consulting on the line here. They're going to give kind of the technical presentation here in just a moment, but just to give you some background, the housing elements is a required component of our general plan. And under state law, each jurisdiction in California must prepare and adopt a housing element that demonstrates how to accommodate its regional housing needs, or RHNA, that we refer to quite throughout the report during a specific planning period. This 6th cycle covers 2023 through 2031. We compose this housing element through California Government Code section 65580 through 65589.8, and includes a comprehensive analysis of the city's housing needs, constraints, and resources, that identify strategies and programs to promote the development of housing for all income levels, preserve existing housing stock, and affirmatively further fair housing. So some of the components of this, which our consultants will get into, updated analysis of demographic, economic, and housing trends, assessment of housing conditions and special needs populations, evaluation of the previous housing elements achievements. We have to track these programs from the state and give them an annual report on what progress we've made for the goals they lay out. Updated site inventory to demonstrate adequate capacity to meet RHNA targets, and then the goals, policies, and implementation programs to address our local housing needs. Public input, so we had some community workshops. This has been a long process. There's been some changes at HCD, and so we would send a draft, and then someone else would take over the account and want something different. It went back and forth quite a bit. So the 2 community workshops were held in June and July of 2023. We also emailed to relevant stakeholders. All the drafts of the housing element have been posted on the city's website since October of 2023. Physical copies were available at the Kern County Library and Tehachapi City Hall, and then a notice was published for the Planning Commission on June 9th, and we also made other notifications and used some of our social media platforms to address the preparation of the housing element. So that's some of the public participation. opportunities we've had. We also had a notice, which I know Tori will get to later, for the public hearing for this hearing as well, that was published in accordance with our timeline. So before I go any further, I want to hand over to Ethan and David from Lisa Weiss Consulting, and they will have some details on kind of the nuts and bolts of this housing element, and then I'll come back up after that. So, gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you, Corey. Just so you're aware, we're having a hard time hearing pretty much anything going on that side of the screen. If you could maybe just clear up the mic, it would be helpful. Thank you.
Yes, but just making sure that you all can hear us okay, and then our PowerPoint is queued up to the room. So we can begin. So first of all, I want to thank you for having us here at the city of Tehachapi, if only virtual. We are really pleased to continue our relationship with the city and our work with the staff and the community as a whole. It's been a very rewarding project, and we are very pleased to have the opportunity to present for your consideration a 6-cycle housing element update that has received a letter of substantial compliance from the state of California's Housing Community Development Department. Go to the next slide. So we had the opportunity to work on this project first with Jay Slosser, and then with Jen Palazzuli through the whole process, and then more recently with Corey Costello, who has been instrumental in working with us and the state, getting this process over the finish line to where it is. Well, we're approaching the finish line tonight, where we are this evening. So quickly, we have a presentation to provide. We want to talk about the housing element and its status, to provide some information maybe for members of the community that are just sort of joining in for the first time, or to remind people of what the housing element is and what its requirements are, just so that everybody's on the same page for this evening's discussion. We'll take a look at some key updates that were negotiated with the state, taking a look at the city's progress towards its Regional Housing Needs and Location, or RHNA, programs that are specified in the housing element, and next steps that are involved in the housing element process. You know, the next slide, please. So a quick recap on the housing element and its status. So what is the housing element? The council is aware, but for the community members who may be listening in, it's a state mandated section or element of the city's general plan. It is, unlike other components of a general plan, it has certain specified analyses that have to be reviewed by the state through the Department of Housing and Community Development, and receive a notice that the city is in compliance with this plan. So it's a little bit different from any other housing, any other general plan element. But the key crux of it really is that the city must demonstrate that it can accommodate its fair share as determined by a state process that happens at the beginning of the housing cycle, so every 8 years. And this is the 6th cycle of this, and this is the RHNA. And then it requires a variety of other updates to the city's development processes and procedures and zoning code to make sure that Tehachapi is in concurrence with state law. Next slide, please. So the housing element has certain components that are required in, again, this is codified in the state law. It's a little bit different from other elements. We have to assess what the housing needs are in the community, assess both governmental and non-governmental constraints to the production of housing, identify that Tehachapi has adequate inventory of sites to accommodate the housing allocation. New to the 6th cycle is an analysis of fair housing and a plan for meeting fair housing goals, and then an implementation plan. Next slide. So You have seen this is, we've had a public review draft, and we've been going back and forth with the state through a couple of rounds of review. And some of it was, it took a little bit longer than is normal for a variety of reasons that have to do with us actually, ironically, requesting expedited reviews, and then the state taking longer than the expedited review or than the normal review length of time would be. So that slowed us down a little bit, but it really concentrated the state comments since the last public review draft in December 2023 were in 3 areas, which were the housing constraints analysis, the analysis of fair housing, and then requirements for the implementation plan. So it has been circulated. There was a first draft back in June of 24. Then again in November, another draft was circulated, and then the one that received the letter of substantial compliance was circulated in March of this year. So it's been available for public review for about 3 months now. Next slide, please. So Ethan will discuss some of the key updates in the revised draft and go on to describe the programs and policies that are contained within the housing element. And again, when it comes time for the discussion, we may have to have Corey relay the questions to us, but again, we'll come back around for more information.
Thank you, David, and very nice to be joining you all today. We've really enjoyed working with the city of Tehachapi, with Jay, Jen, and now Corey, and we have a lot to summarize for you. As David mentioned, the review process with HCD began over a year ago, and arguably even before that for even earlier reviews. So we're going to try to summarize here relatively quickly all the different areas of the housing element that have been updated since the last time the public really saw the draft, because it's gone through several rounds of interim review with HCD. Generally speaking, the updates in the revised draft to the portions of the housing element that Dave mentioned are focused on how the city's zoning code facilitates a wider variety of housing. HCD has historically had a hard time understanding form-based codes, and the city of Tehachapi has a very forward-looking form-based code, the likes of which HCD wasn't expecting. A lot of that has to do with how statewide HCD tends to think about housing in terms of just density, but Tehachapi's code is relatively unique. It looks more at form of buildings rather than just density. So we had to have some back and forth kind of just describing and really displaying concretely all the different types of housing that zoning code allows. We updated the analysis of housing needs for lower income folks, for disabled folks, for senior households. This is usually pretty straightforward. Just HCD wants to have a bit more focus on certain items, especially in the affordability for fair housing analysis. We had input from the development community. Again, HCD had a hard time seeming to understand how Tehachapi zoning code works. We were able to really display the cumulative impact of how each of the development standards facilitate the type of housing and density the state is expecting, and also we're able to bring in the development community through internal conversations to say, you know, the limitations on housing Tehachapi, if there are any, are primarily related to market conditions and not related to the specific development standards or the way the city processes applications. Other than those items, we had more thorough documentation of compliance with state law. A lot of cross-references were already present in the earlier drafts of the housing element. We just made sure that everything HCD was looking for was present. And then lastly, to sum it all up and then to set the city up for implementing this housing element once it's adopted, we had updates to the housing element programs. These are going to be implementing actions, and HCD was looking for greater specifics about when, where, and how these programs will be implemented, and we will be talking about a couple more of these later on in this presentation just to show you exactly what was updated. Overall, though this required more work, it was an opportunity to highlight how all the code's strengths and the way the city is a partner in development and in complying with state law, and how the city serves residents and the development community well. To take a step back to the RHNA, the Regional Housing Needs Allocation. David mentioned it earlier. Again, the RHNA is set before the housing element update process truly begins. It's worked out between the county and the local jurisdictions as well as the state housing and community development. So Tehachapi's RHNA set back in 2022-23 is 902 total units, and that amount remains constant even though the planning period that the housing element is covering goes on several years after that. So you'll see here it says 2022 annual income limits. Again, the number remains constant even though things have changed, and those annual income limits do change over time. But broad strokes, Tehachapi's RHNA is split up by different income levels. You have above moderate, very low, low, and moderate. The largest amount is going to be above moderate. In fact, I will show you on the following slide what that looks like exactly. So the income categories are determined by the percent of the annual, the area median income, which again is updated every single year. So basically, the state is expecting Tehachapi to plan for, but not necessarily build itself, but to plan for construction of 188 units that are accessible or affordable to very low income households, 119 for low, 164 for moderate, 431 for above moderate. Again, that ranges from half of the area median income to all the way of 120% of the area median income. Basically, the state is looking for there to be a well-rounded housing stock that the city is planning for. And to show what the numbers look like when the first draft was written, actually, I apologize, actually, this is the updated numbers here. So when we are talking about the site's inventory and kind of what the city is planning for, how that's being displayed to the state, we're also able to count the approved and entitled projects already in the housing development pipeline. And so just purely based off of the projects already in the pipeline, the city's met its RHNA. Where the details come in is making sure that the city has planned for housing that is going to be affordable to a variety of households. So on paper, there's a surplus of units already in the pipeline, and the remainder of the work with working with HCD to show how the city enables development of different densities and different types is just to show how even though none of these units that are in the pipeline are going to be deed restricted or capital AH affordable housing, the code enables development in such a way that the housing can be affordable by design. So for example, when we finally actually get down to the specific sites that the housing element is looking at to display how the city is planning for this development, you know, these exceptionally small sites are just assumed to be above moderate income. But the state does have expectations based off of density to say, okay, if a development is above a certain density, then it can be assumed that it's going to fulfill housing for moderate income households or lower income households. So in the case of this map, which is included in the housing element, the tan sites are considered moderate income due to their specific size and the zoning district that they're in, and lower income sites are purely just based off of the density that is possible on that site, not necessarily the type of housing that's going to be built there. So the priority programs and implementation steps that we want to bring to the Planning Commission in our previous meeting and the Council's attention here is just, there's several programs that are going to require Planning Commission and Council review to fully implement what the state is looking for, what the city has promised in a series of programs. Broad strokes, you have development streamlining, which is mainly compliance with state law. We're talking the state density bonus law, which is constantly updating, the accessory dwelling unit law, which is constantly updating, and a variety of other laws which are always receiving updates. So it's just an expectation that the city is going to keep up and ensure that the zoning code is compliant with state law. There are also a couple of other expectations. We're just reviewing certain findings to address potential, though not observed constraints. So that has to do with some of the site plan review and just the ability for the city to facilitate multifamily housing by right in these zones that allow it. There are also several programs of downtown development, primarily just ensuring that the downtown zones, related to the previous point, are supporting mixed-use projects. The city's zoning code does allow mixed use, meaning commercial and residential in the same project downtown. The state is hoping that those incentives for upper story residential development are maintained and are accessible to developers if that's a project that a developer would like to pursue. Also housing diversity. Again, accessory dwelling unit law is always updating. The state is expecting the city to keep up to date with that and also to establish some programs that promote those accessory dwelling units. They're a pretty easy way to add gentle density to existing residential areas without worrying big new development. And then a couple of other cleanup programs to ensure that manufactured housing or mobile homes are regulated correctly, housing on religious institution sites because there is state law that enables that, and then also looking at the city's enhanced density zones for senior housing. Again, these are just a variety of smaller measures that I mentioned, implement city policy and state law. And the same can be said for the last bullet here, special needs housing. This is just to ensure that the city is compliant with state law regarding employee housing, low-barrier navigation centers, and community care facilities. Otherwise, that's the broad strokes of how the housing element has been updated since the public last reviewed it. We are available to answer any other questions, and I'll pass it back to Dave to wrap up. Thank you.
Thanks. So, as I mentioned before, go to the housing element that has been reviewed by Planning Commission and been circulated to the community has received a letter of substantial compliance. That means that HCD has reviewed the draft and has found it to be substantially compliant with state law, so that if the element is adopted and made part of the city's general plan, then Tehachapi will be deemed as being compliant with for the sixth cycle, and has fulfilled its obligations under the sixth cycle for the production of a substantially compliant or a state compliant housing element. So there's some findings that need to be made along with adoption of the housing element. It's then sent back to HCD, which issues a final letter of approval, and which essentially starts the clock on some of the housing element implementation actions in the programs that have been specified. So that's where we are in the process right now. And again, I would say that in general, our issues that in working with the state were them being surprised, and in some cases pushing back on what a good job Tehachapi was already doing in terms of producing housing, and not understanding how Tehachapi's code, which is innovative and works well for the community, could fit. They were surprised to see it in this community. So that I think you should take pride in the fact that you're really actually very well positioned as a community towards meeting your obligations for the production of housing. So with that, questions and comments, and turn it back over to city staff.
Thank you, gentlemen. Before we do the open the public hearing, I just want to make a few more notes, and then we'll open it to the public hearing and questions. If they're technical, these guys can answer it. So, as they pointed out, the next steps tonight would be adopting the resolution. I want to point out the sixth cycle housing element's been evaluated in accordance with the authority and criteria contained in the California Environmental Quality Act and found to be exempt from CEQA based on at a minimum the 14 Cal Code Regulation Section 15061B3, also known as a common sense, the common sense, I'm losing my word here, sorry, exemption, there it is. The housing element does not propose any development and doesn't require any rezoning to accommodate the reallocation, as those gentlemen pointed out, were already appropriately zoned. I wanted to bring to your attention the supplemental materials that I provided that came from our legal team. This is based on a previous legal letter we received from the Tehachapi Cummings County Water District regarding the assumptions that are made in the first letter. And this one, basically, the TCCW letter directly notes that the city's reallocation for the sixth cycle period is 902 residential units, and the unit was broken down previously. As it was stated previously as well, the city is not responsible for the actual construction of these units. Instead, the housing element as a section of our general plan as a policy document that evaluates the city's housing needs, constraints, and resources, and identifies strategies and programs to promote the development of housing for all income levels, preserve existing housing stock, and affirmatively further fair housing. The city's draft housing element explains that the city does not need to rezone any existing sites to be able to accommodate this RHNA number. Additionally, TCCW's comparison to the Sacramento County Superior Court ruling on the first three causes of action in the Tehachapi-Cummings County Water District versus City of Tehachapi Sage Ranch lawsuit is inapplicable. That ruling addresses the environmental review for a discrete project that proposes a specific development. In contrast, the housing element is a policy document that provides a survey and analysis of current vacant and zoned properties with characteristics for residential development to meet RHNA allocation. As required by housing element law, the city's housing element identifies potential constraints to housing development. As required, the city's housing element discusses whether there are any infrastructure constraints to housing, including as it relates to water supply. Housing element, and that's on page 54 and 55. The housing element explains the city's approach to address those potential constraints, and TCCW's assertion that the city is required to undertake a full-blown water supply analysis at this juncture is misplaced. It odds with the intent of the housing element and would impose on city obligations not required by the housing element law. Also, the city's approach to the environmental review is neither unusual nor incorrect. Our staff, with the assistance of Travis Crawford, Principal Environmental Planner for Crawford and Bowman Planning, determined the housing element exempt from CEQA under the code I quoted earlier. The determination is supported by substantial evidence, including the technical memorandum, which is attached in the staff report, going through every section that a CEQA document would go through. Just to repeat, has no impact, all the way down, way above what is required under a CEQA exemption. And so that is provided, and you can, and I'm sure you reviewed that by now. I also wanted to point out something that we thought was very important, especially in light of receiving a 123-page letter at 4:50 this afternoon from another law firm representing the Tehachapi-Cummings County Water District. There are some other documents attached. So the County of Kern has over 9,243 to be exact, residential units listed in their RHNA, more than 10 times the city's allocation. Of that, there are over 1,500 sites in the greater Tehachapi area that are identified as part of the county's RHNA. So it would make sense that if there was legal interest in our housing element, you got another housing element with 2-3 times as many homes being proposed or planned for in this case, that there would be some engagement with the County of Kern. As you will see in my public records request to the County of Kern, at no point did the Tehachapi-Cummings County Water District engage with the County of Kern regarding their housing element. To be exact, that number was 2,570 units identified in the greater Tehachapi area, with most of them being low income to very low income. You see our element showed a less dense for above moderate income housing. Everything proposed in the county was very dense, and their sites were for low to very low income. And as they pointed out, that is very high density. You do some quick math, and although usually smaller units like that require less water, about 0.33 acre foot per house, that would be 827 acre feet of water inside the greater Tehachapi Basin, not counting the city of Tehachapi's RHNA number. So I just wanted to point that out to council, that a lot of these letters and correspondence appear to be punitive, and as you can see, based on the reality that there was no interaction with the County of Kern, despite them having 2,500 plus sites in the greater Tehachapi area, I think that speaks for itself. So at this point, I would encourage the mayor to open the public hearing, and I'd be happy to answer any questions, as would our consultants.
Do I have any questions from, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, good.
Okay, we're going to do a notice of public hearing. The public hearing notice was published on June 18th in the Bakersfield Californian. We did receive correspondence from Matthew Gelfand with Californians for Home Ownership. And
I could read that if you want me to read that.
sure, Mr. Costello will read that.
I received that letter today. This came from lead counsel Matthew Gelfand from the Californians for Home Ownership. It says, to the City Council, Californians for Home Ownership is a 501c3 organization devoted to using legal tools to address California's housing crisis. Over the last 4 years, we have devoted substantial resources to the enforcement of California's laws governing housing elements, and we have filed over 20 lawsuits against cities and counties to enforce these laws, which are the heart of the legislature's effort to address the state's pressing affordable housing crisis. The purpose of this letter is to express our strong support for the City of Tehachapi's effort to attain compliance with housing element law through the adoption of its 6th cycle housing element, which has received advance approval by the State Department of Housing and Community Development. We have reviewed the housing element as well as the environmental review conducted by the city in connection with its adoption of the housing element. In our opinion, the city has acted lawfully and is ready to adopt its housing element this evening. While much of our work is focused on addressing non-compliance by local agencies, organizations also committed to supporting agencies facing anti-housing litigation, including under the California Environmental Quality Act, either through intervention or amicus curiae briefs. For example, we have participated in the defense of 2 unsuccessful lawsuits involving the city of Newport Beach, one to block the development of a residential project and one to block the city's housing element rezoning. While we must consider specifics before committing to participate in a particular dispute, we are open to providing our pro-housing perspective should the city face legal action over its efforts to meet its share of regional housing needs. So that came in this afternoon as well from the California's for Homeownership. So.
We also received a letter from Gene Seaton with Mazzaro Law, and a copy of that is in the public binder and at the dais. Thank you.
Okay. Now, public comment. Do I have any comments from the public? Thank you.
We do have Steve Roller who wanted to
Go
make
ahead,
a comment.
raise your hand. Other speak first. I'd like to listen to some speakers.
Okay, Claudia.
Thank you. I just have a question for Corey. And only because I didn't hear the number for the housing from the county. What was that number?
In their entire arena or just Greater Tehachapi? I'll give you both. So the entire number was 9,423 units. And in the Greater Tehachapi area, that's 2,507 units, all low to very low income.
Okay, so of the 2,507, did they break that down between Tehachapi Basin and Cummings Basin?
No, it's
and
just the
Bright?
entire-
So it's the entire, okay.
Greater Tehachapi
All right.
zip code.
Thank you.
Okay.
Please excuse my slow pace and casual dress. I'm encumbered at the moment. I'm Tom Neisler. I'm the general manager of the Tehachapi Cummings County Water District. I'm in front of you again to ask you to consider the action that you're being asked to take. The housing element is neither in compliance with the state housing element law nor with CEQA. Mr. Costello is correct. We provided comments at 4:40 something today based on the public notice that the city provided at 4:18 on Friday, July 4th. So less than a business day later, we provided a 22-page letter stating our explicit objections with documentation and the supporting documentation that we previously submitted, totaling 123 pages opposing the action that the city is proposed to take. We can consider or continue to go down this path, or we can work together to resolve these problems. I've proposed it before, I'll propose it again. This is not the way to go. I respectfully request that you consider rejecting this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Roller?
Yes.
Thank you. Well, I am a resident here. I've lived here for 35 years. I'm a retired attorney, practice in Bakersfield. And I've been following this through the newspaper. And I want to thank our reporter that's here today. Without her information in the paper, I don't think the citizens would know much about what's going on here. And it seems to me the city is taking a very bad path. And the judge seems to agree with that. He's ruled on 3 of the 4 causes of action against the city, yet the city seems to persist in going forward with this. I am interested in protecting our water rights as a consumer, and this developer that you seem to be supporting
is gonna develop and he's take his pot of gold and he's gonna leave. We're still gonna be here, we're still gonna be consuming our water. And when I speak to my neighbors about this, they all seem to agree. I was hoping more people might show up to tell you that you're going down the wrong path. Settle with the water district, stop spending our taxpayer dollars on this endless litigation. It's been going on for 4 years now. Please, reconsider what you're doing. Thank you.
Madam Mayor. I'm sorry, I spoke without notes. I understand, from what Mr. Costello's presentation said, that there's an amended resolution that's being introduced. I would like to object to any amended resolution that has not been publicly disseminated or considered prior to this hearing. Thank you.
Okay, where to begin? First, on terms of the agenda going on Friday, we were waiting more legal stuff from our consultants and our legal team because we were still responding to a letter we received for the Planning Commission hearing, which the Planning Commission adopted this 5-0. We anticipated, since we had public notice, and to say that it was a notice until July 4th is completely erroneous because we have a required notification period, public notice-wise, in the newspaper. It was well over 20 days for this hearing. So knowing that was out there, knowing that there had been coverage that we were going to adopt this potentially here tonight, we fully anticipated another 23 plus, well, you know, the regular pages and then the other stuff. And that didn't come until 4:50 today. So we were anticipating something, never came across. And so, as is common practice, we received it an hour before the meeting, as is normal. So we actually were kind of allowing more time between our legal team and fully anticipating something to come down the pike. And so we just didn't get it, so the agenda went out on Friday, well within our legal time frame for noticing this meeting. As far as amended resolution and staff report, it's a regular occurrence, to Mr. Neisser's point, that staff reports are not even included in TCCW's agendas, and they are brought the day of. Very similar here. We have our staff report, but we added some additional stuff from our legal team, and the resolution, I'll point out as well, is just adds in, the only amendment to the resolution is just adding some additional, so that would be section 5, subsection A, B, C, and D are all included, and E as well. It just goes into the CEQA exemption a little bit deeper, taking what Mr. Crawford provided and then put that into the housing element. The findings and none of that changed. That was the change. That was the addition. And again, we were waiting on legal to come back with that. So that is the exemption. Hence the reason for the amended staff report and also the amended resolution, which is commonplace except when we do it, it's a crisis. So I just wanted to point that out to you as well. So if there's no further questions, and to the other point, I think I addressed it earlier, but the other point regarding the Sage Ranch lawsuit, as pointed out, pointing to that as a reason to not adopt this, two completely separate issues, and I think they've been intertwined a little bit too much, but this is a completely separate issue. And so that's really the response to the gentleman who had that issue regarding that project, different project than what the council is considering here tonight. So if there's no further questions, I would recommend that the council close the public hearing, then adopt the resolution approving and adopting the City of Tehachapi's 6-cycle housing element and finding the housing element exempt from CEQA, and authorize staff to submit the adopted document to HCD for final review and certification. If you want to add in the amended resolution, we can certainly do that with those sections that I pointed out as well. So, and happy to answer any questions from the council.
Okay, Corey, according
We have
to...
to close the public hearing.
Oh,
before
good,
the
okay.
council.
I'm sorry. Okay, well, does someone have to motion that, or does...
You
no,
close the
just-
hearing.
Close, okay. Close public hearing. Do I have any questions from the council?
I have a question. So it was brought up from Mr. Neisler and the law firm from their Tehachapi Cummings County Water District that we're in violation of CEQA and that we're not in compliance with housing and community development. We have a letter from Housing and Community Development that says we are in compliance. So, and
after
that we are
reviewing the
exempt from
first letter,
CEQA.
And after reviewing the first letter that was provided back in March. So that was sent to HCD, they looked at it, and in their letter they say, we consider the comments from Tehachapi Cummings, this is still a substantially conformant housing element, and please proceed.
So when they say substantially conformative, it's not completely conformative until we adopt it, correct?
Right.
So we are there. All we have to do now is adopt it.
Right, and then after that, the timeline starts for us to make the changes, as far as allowable uses inside, like downtown, like they said, promote. We have these programs we have to start, some of them we're already doing. But for example, this was brought up in the past, that the city is going to allow churches to build apartments in their parking lot. It's not the case. What it is, it's a program that says, hey, if the church wants to, you can already do that, by the way. A church can already build, state law passes that surplus land, they can build housing. But in addition to that, there's a emergency kind of shelter provision. So if a church wants to build 1 or 2 units for somebody who's experiencing homelessness or had down on their luck, they can do that inside of their parking lot, so to speak. I don't know about you, but most churches around here use pretty much every bit of their parking lot that they have. And so, as I pointed out to the Planning Commission, a lot of these programs, they don't pencil for a developer in this area. Low-income housing, for the most part, does not pencil, because even if you get a density bonus, or you get a state waiver, and you get some special tax credits for building affordable housing, they can't find enough clients and sell them at a high enough rate to make money. If they built that in Bakersfield, Lancaster, Palmdale, larger cities, yes, they have a larger client base and they can get more money for the product. Hence the reason why we see a lot of above moderate income sales in Tehachapi, because that is more of the clientele. So a lot of these programs, we have to implement them, and some of them are as simple as we have utility assistance available through the state. So we need to notice people on it. But we already have a program with the Salvation Army when it comes to food rescue. So we're going to put those notes inside the Salvation Army produce boxes, and that goes out to those in need, so they know, hey, not only do you have this, but the city has, or the state basically through the city has a utilities assistance program, so you don't get evicted from your home for not paying your bills, that sort of thing. So a lot of those programs are already in place or very minor to implement, and so we'll start that timeline of getting those programs implemented, and updates as far as adding certain uses as suggested inside of the zoning code, and that will come at a later date down the line. So,
the other question I had was, it was brought up about Sage Ranch, and these are bifurcated subjects. That's a project, a development, and has to undergo CEQA. We get that. This is a policy document, and HCD has already stated you meet the requirements of exemption from CEQA, correct?
They said that not the CEQA portion, they said the conformance to what they all wanted in there.
Correct.
And certain cities do CEQA done differently in the housing element based on what you're doing. County of Kern adopted a mitigated neg debt, saying basically like, we're not changing much anyway. It's just a matter of what exemption, that's all they did for theirs. Again, no comment. Also, other cities have gone with a full-on exemption. City of Carpinteria just did that with their housing element. So it's not new when you're not rezoning anything. And even now, and this was pointed out too, the state budget trailer bill included CEQA exemptions for rezoning. So we're not even rezoning, but you can imagine if we're not rezoning, so if rezoning is no longer subject to CEQA, how is not rezoning subject to CEQA? Does that make much sense? I mean, I'm kind of half a moron, but I understand that. So now the state's saying rezoning doesn't even require CEQA, and we're not rezoning anything because, as they pointed out, we've got sites that are appropriately zoned, and we have our form-based code is still kind of new out there in the world of planning.
So the overriding issue for me, at least, is that HCD has said, we agree with you, City of Tehachapi, that your reason for exemption to CEQA in this policy document, we agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point on Sage Ranch, it was brought up in the Planning Commission. It is a project listed inside of the housing element, but as of today, it's still an entitled project, right? We're still waiting the writ to actually be issued, and so it's still an entitled project. Now, when we go through to unentitle it, re-entitle, all those steps we have to take, it's not going to change the housing element. at all, because that project will come back at some point. But it is still, for all intents and purposes, during the preparation of this document, an entitled project, and it still is today. And so that's why it is mentioned, but it is a totally separate issue. These are two completely different. This is the planning document, that's a project, and they are separate issues, other than the fact that a couple of these projects are already entitled or mentioned inside of the housing element, as they are in everywhere California, because that's what you do as part of your pipeline projects. You point out what has already been entitled and is awaiting building permits for your RENA numbers.
Thank you.
Corey, from what I understand, Kern County just updated their plan, correct? And then is this done every 8 years? Did I get that correct?
Yeah, it's an 8-year cycle.
Okay.
So this is the 6th cycle, and then the next one will be the 7th cycle. And I think it started, did you say 1976 was the first one?
It was before that.
Before that, so well before that. So this is nothing new. In the past, we've done exemptions, we've done mitigated net decks, just say, this is it. So this is nothing new, this approach.
Okay. Any more? Michael?
No.
Okay, motion? Do I have a motion, is that correct?
Yep.
Or recommendation?
Yep.
Correct, motion please.
I'll make a motion that we approve and adopt the 6th cycle of the 23 to 31 housing element of the general plan and find the action exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act.
I'll second.
Councilmember Davies?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Howard?
Yes.
Mayor Polkencourt?
Yes.
4-0 vote, motion carried.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, now we have
Thank you, Mayor Pro
City
Tem. I
manager.
noticed that Mr. Miles is in the audience, and I'd like to have him come to the podium. Key, could you kind of tee this up again? So, Mr. Miles, we had already approved the donation. I know you called, said you're going to be late, but we went ahead and did that. And so if Key could just kind of recap, and then if you'd like to say a couple words, that would be fine. Thank you.
So to kind of recap, Honor Flight of Kern County had approached, Mr. Miles had approached council and myself, City Manager Greg Garrett, several weeks ago about making a donation, and we had last year. We wanted to do that this year. And we wanted to do it after the first of the year, the first meeting of July. The timing of it, again, with Lynn's passing over the weekend and her support of the program, we just felt it was just very powerful. And so we wanted to donate $3,000. Council approved that. We'd like to give $3,000 to Honor Flight of Kern County this year, Steve. So, and we'd like it, the council has asked if it could be to honor Lynn Eckert, if we can. Because what she meant to our community, to our veterans, being a Marine, we just appreciated everything that she did, and council had asked that we do that. So, good. Would you like to say a few things? And
Sure.
then I'll ask Mayor if you'd like to come forward and present the check.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to send some veterans to Washington, D.C. on an honor flight. First, I'd like to offer my apologies for being late. You guys hold your meetings in a different agenda order than I'm used to, going to the Bear Valley CSD, so I anticipated being here in time, so my apologies. I know several of you have been on an honor flight and have noticed and took part in the event and how it's affecting the people that go, particularly the veterans. And I can say for myself, in particular, the Vietnam era veterans that served during that time period. As you may or may not be aware, when we were coming back into public airports or bus stations or whatever the case may be, we were not thanked for our service, as is common practice now. So when we do our honor flights, one of the things that we enjoy doing the most is having the public come to Meadows Field and welcome us home when we come home. And at the last honor flight that I was on was number 50. We just had number 51 come back this last spring. We had about 400 or 500 people at the airport thanking us, waving flags. It was an incredible event and so heartfelt for all of the Vietnam veterans that went. And I personally would like to thank each and every one of you that have participated and took part. The donation that you've made today has enabled me to reach $38,000 in my fundraising efforts here in Tehachapi. A little short from what I did last year, because everybody likes to beat last year's numbers, but I did what I could to make that up and came real close to it. I was only about $3,000 or $4,000 short. So this $3,000 and under the recognition for Lynn is very well, gosh, I just can't thank you all enough. Lynn, when she went first on an honor flight, it kind of changed her life. And she got more involved in honor flight, and she was so active. She was a bus leader on our tours. She's been on a number of the tours. She's very active at our breakfasts that I welcome you to attend the last Saturday of every month at Christian Life Assembly. There'll be a check presentation there this coming breakfast by Mono from Red House, who has in the past done the food at my event and donated all of his proceeds. So again, thank you so very much. I personally appreciate it, and I am on the board of directors, so at our next meeting I will forward that to our board, and I'm sure with this donation you'll be getting a nice thank you letter from our board. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank
Maybe a
you.
Photo.
Okay. I was in high school when our service members came back from Vietnam, and I remember it distinctly how they were treated and have never forgotten it.
Yeah.
And appreciate their service.
Yeah, I was in the Marine Corps from 71 to 77, and that's the exact time frame you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, and they were treated disrespectfully.
So where do you want us?
Right here.
You got my message? I thought it was going to be later. Thank you.
Look at that, money. Oh, it's this way.
Thank you.
Yeah, whoops. I guess I was supposed to look like I didn't check. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
you. Appreciate it. Appreciate your service. Dave, do you have are we still on city manager report? Mr. Garrett, do you have more to report?
Yes, thank you.
I thought so.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Mayor Court. A couple of things for you this evening. I just want to say thank you to all of the city staff, of course, and all of our partners when it comes to the July 4th celebration. We had an amazing day, starting with TBRPD's 5K run, the Warrior Booster pancake breakfast, TBAA, arts and crafts, the children's parade, face painting. Jeanette, thank you for that. PD for keeping everybody safe and secure. Public Works organizing the streets and the parks and all of those different things. Tim RA for the bull riding, and then of course the city sponsored fireworks. It was just an outstanding day, and I'm on the screen. Why am I on the screen? Oh, we're going to show video? Maybe I got distracted. I looked up and saw the ugly old guy. But just a great day, and so many volunteers and partners, nonprofits, other government organizations, and next year the United States of America turns 250 years since the Declaration of Independence was signed. So Mr. Budge has already started an effort to engage all of our partners and maybe more. And we hope to have a very big celebration. It's the 4th of July is on Saturday in 2026, so maybe a weekend type of it, maybe a downtown concert, maybe on Saturday, something similar to what we're doing now, and really enhance and step it up for the 250. That's a big deal to live in a free country, and it's an honor and a privilege to be doing so, that's for sure. Also, the farmer's market, led by Keys Group again with Jessica. She's not here, the three ladies you see sitting out front, and others. Farmer's market this year is spectacular. Every Thursday, 4 to 7, downtown on Green Street. We have amazing vendors, fruits, vegetables, goodies, different things. Entertainment zone is open and active. We have some of the vendors selling beer and wine. As long as you get a wristband, you can walk around. And Chief, we've had no issues at all, and people are really enjoying it. Not only are they buying their wares, but it's a social scene. And people are hanging out, and the murals have been redone. It's just, you know, and the city streets are so clean and so safe, and it's just a great time to be out and about during the summer in Tehachapi. Also very excited to report that several of our paving projects have been complete. On the north side of the boulevard, HIJ, Mojave Hayes, so on and so forth. All of those streets have been repaved, so new asphalt. And the grindings from the old streets were used in the alleys and then rolled down and oiled, I believe, and that neighborhood has never looked better. You know, on the heels of last year when we did Arabian Estates and all the different areas there. We also paved, we had actually 2 projects on Denison. They overlapped slightly. So you may have seen some construction. You think, well, why did they do this? Why did they do that? But it was all about grant funding and timing. One project or one contractor went a little late, and the next one started. So Denison Road from Tehachapi Boulevard south to, let's say, Georgia, that area has been greatly enhanced. We have some other sidewalks and some widening efforts there. We have another project that we're going to start here soon, south of the high school on the west side, so that'll be enhancing that area also. On Denison north of Tehachapi Boulevard, here in the next week or so, maybe next week, in front of WM and the Tehachapi Event Center, the rodeo grounds. It's going to be completely redone. We have Curry from C, this is C Street in front of us, from C going south to Curry, to Valley, I'm sorry, Curry, C to Valley. Complete reconstruction. We're going to close that street for efficiencies and cost, keep the cost down, so there'll be detours and traffic control put into place. And then the intersection of Curry and Valley will be redone. And then a small portion of Valley from Curry east to Clearview. That's going to be done also. So we have a lot of projects in the queue. We're making quick work of the summer. Hopefully get all these wrapped up before school starts, which is, you know, before you know it, day after tomorrow, as things go. So really excited about all the projects that have been complete and then we're working on. You know, Mr. Norton talked about the VK Theater and the expansion back there. And we really enjoy a lot of partnerships with government agencies, nonprofits, so on and so forth. And we're just really excited about what's happening, keeping our city, you know, maintaining the infrastructure, clean, organized, and safe. So thank you very much. If you have any questions about any of those projects, certainly I'd be willing to answer, or you can come by and, like I said, if you want to look at the back of the BK or anything else, just let me know.
I do.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, council members.
Well, I'll start. Just wanted to say the 4th of July was a great turnout for the Kids Parade. Last year, I think I face painted about 30 kids. This year, I stopped counting at 80. And I didn't get all the kids. I mean, there was at least 100 children there. And to quote the chief, he said, "We're doing something right," because the community was coming out. So that's it was a great event, and I can't wait to see what those little kiddos are going to do next year and the insanity that ensues. But I also wanted to say the ballards downtown are fantastic. Fantastic. When I was working on the murals, I saw people back into Green Street to get a parking spot. And it's just crazy to have these events like Farmers Market or the mural unveiling and not have those ballards. Those things were amazing. They're safe. People don't always pay attention, or people who are not familiar to the area don't realize what's a no left turn or a one-way road. And that's fantastic, and people feel safer too. So ballards, great job on that as a public safety.
Bill?
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Michael?
Well, a couple of comments. July 4th was just awesome event. I had so many people walk up to me and just say how clean the city looks. I'm just real happy with everything on both sides of the railroad and what's going on in our community. And then the fireworks were absolutely amazing, and people were kind of nice when we left. Usually you have a bad thought or something happen bad after you leave the rodeo grounds, but everything went real smooth. So wanted to thank the PD for that. Everything ran smoothly.
The powder went out.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, my daughter was on the freeway and she says, they blinked and they said the whole town went black.
We did that on purpose to slow everyone down.
Yeah.
Does anybody know, it sounded like someone hit a pole or something. Does anybody know what happened?
I don't know. Don, do you know?
It was,
I think people hit poles, sometimes fuses blow. It could be one of them.
Because I heard a big pop and then the power went out.
It was probably illegal fireworks from your neighbor.
No kidding.
No, we
No dog
don't.
barking.
it was extensive though. It went out to Arvin.
But it didn't
more than
last
that.
long. It was quite quick, but everything went out. I heard a pop and then like something blew.
Mhm.
Probably Highline then.
Yeah, went up to King and Hart and, yeah.
Wow, all the way up.
And then the other comment I wanted to make to Mr. Miles on the American Legion, got to know Lynn pretty good recently, spent a lot of time with her, with my father now as part of the Legion. And what a wonderful lady and everything she did. And I had the opportunity, the honor to go with on the honor flight with my father. And I never served myself, but I'll tell you what, I was so proud of my dad. He served in the Korean War. And all the veterans and everything that did, it was just amazing. I am so proud to be, that we support that, and thank you, Steve, and to the American Legion for their support. What a great event for our veterans, and really opened my eyes. Because I was in '60s, I was a baby, I was born, so I was not around. But what a just fantastic event. And just really proud to be a supporter of that.
I've been on 2 flights, number 44 and number 50, and we just did 51.
Yeah, I was on that
And
one.
it really can change lives. I've seen it happen, and it's and something I forgot to mention to y'all. No one in our organization gets paid. We are 100% volunteer, unlike a lot of other charitable organizations that pay administrative costs and CEOs and a lot of things like that. No one gets paid. So every penny that we raise, and our director says if we don't fundraise, we don't fly. So every penny that we raise goes directly to sending veterans back to DC. So what you did is a wonderful, beautiful thing.
It was, like I said, I have got quite a few different contacts now. We speak because they're with their fathers, and I was with my dad. I got to spend a lot of quality time with my father, which I didn't get to do that when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So it was an amazing event, and you'll never hear me say anything bad about it, and especially with Lynn. Just awesome. She just did a lot for the community. I had a bad asthma attack, and I was at the hospital when she got admitted at the very first night that she was there, and when she was diagnosed. And I said, my wife and I went and prayed with her and sat with her until some other people could get there. And so I guess it was just meant to be that night.
Yeah.
Couldn't breathe, but I prayed with her, so it was pretty special to be there for that. And just to see her, how her heart was into everything that she did. I knew a lot of Marines, but she's the sweetest Marine I ever met. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Oh, you think? I was privileged to go on the honor flight. It's quite an experience. You take this bag and it's about like this for 3 days of clothing and whatnot. And I go, how am I going to get anything in there? But it's to make things go efficiently. But you see Washington, D.C. in 3 days, and it's a whirlwind event. If you get the opportunity to do it, please do so. Please do so. And then back to our reports, like you said, I've seen a lot of road work going on. slurry seal, lines, everything, you know, and I go, why are they doing it this way and that way and the other way, you know, but then it finally comes through and I go, oh, okay, that's what they were doing, okay. And then also to comment on the 4th of July, like I said, I've lived here 53 years, and when the little kids bike parade came in, that park just filled up. I go, where did all these people come from? And I think it was the busiest I've ever seen in my entire stay here in Tehachapi. It was beautiful. And I commented on that exactly, that it was one of the largest 4th of July park events that I had seen. And then I was privileged to go to the rodeo grounds, and that was an interesting state of affair as well. It wasn't a full rodeo, it was just the bull riding, and that was fun. Stands were full. And with the mutton, what was that?
Mutton busting.
Yeah, that was the cutest thing in the world. Those little kids are on these sheep and hanging on for dear life, and then fall off with a helmet on, thank God. You know, I was going, oh, do they have a helmet? Anyway, so those are the big events that happen. They were fun. I enjoyed myself. I think everybody there enjoyed themselves, and then our fireworks afterwards were really nice. So, not like Macy's, but yeah. It was nice.
I think their budget is a little bigger than ours.
I would think so.
We could start taking donations from corporations or people to maybe change our show up a little bit. But it's a nice gesture from the city of Tehachapi to the entire community.
So I know what we spend, and when I saw the Macy's, I thought they must spend millions on
Our
it.
budget is $50,000 just
Right.
for the fireworks alone.
Right.
That's right. Two more things, if I may.
Sure.
One is, I forgot to mention, I believe I forgot to mention, the Valley Boulevard project from Mountain View to Tucker. That is designed and ready to go to bid, except we're still waiting on our final Caltrans approval, because it's in their documentation. It's one of the streets that they basically kind of control a bit, so we're waiting on that. So as soon as we get that, we'll put that out to bid. We still hope to be able to plan to finish that project this summer, late fall. And the video, I blurred right by that, even though it was right in my face. Maya puts together such amazing videos showcasing who we are, what we're doing, where we're doing it, when we're doing it, not just road projects, but for every department that is picked up on all of our social media feeds. And Keith thought it would be a good idea to showcase one of the videos, just one of the videos that we produced. This is all Maya's idea, and everything you see and what I said, and I was the monkey there doing what I was told, but it's really a nice way to let people know what we're doing. So if you want to roll that video, that would be great.
Another comment, I'm glad that you finally have helped Maya and Key. I think you had a very, very big job, but to know that you have 2 helpers now relieves my heart, to be honest with you. Because I know how much how much time and effort that had to have taken, or does take, I should say. So we're glad to have the ladies.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Comment. Maybe it's on the video. The trees downtown, if you don't have it, if you have an opportunity, go down Tehachapi Boulevard after dark, you'll see the 3 enormous trees with thousands of lights that can be changed in pattern. Right now they're red, white, and blue. And then for the season, for Christmas, there'll be more trees with more lights and more, but you have to go down there after dark, so obviously.
Yeah,
But there's
it took me a
thousands.
while before
I was
got there
impressed.
after dark.
It's very professional.
Sure.
Yeah.
To go on that note, on Saturday, August 2nd, we're going to open that park officially. We're going to have a concert at the park. So we'll have a band we'll put on that stage at Railroad Park. That'll end with the lights coming on. So yeah, we'll really showcase the
In a choreography, the lights, in other words,
I don't know, but we'll
make it
work on
move.
time. We'll see what we can do.
There's some places that.
But there's some color
Dance to
options
the
that get to
music,
go.
yeah.
Yeah.
The lights dance to
Anyway,
music.
if you get a chance, go down after dark.
Yes. I
No,
finally
just-
did it.
So we can roll video then? Okay, good.
Roll that big.
I'm going with the city of Tehachapi. I'm standing here in the intersection of I and Mojave on the north side of the boulevard. As far as you can see in every direction, we have brand new asphalt. We're super excited about this project. We appreciate everybody's patience. We have brand new curb, gutter, sidewalk in most of the areas, and then asphalt as far as you can see, like I said, and also the alleys have been redone. So this is an exciting project, all using your Measure S tax dollars locally. So we appreciate everybody being safe and conscious, of course, in the construction zone. And if you ever have any questions about this project or any other, please give me a call at City Hall. Thank you very much.
So thank you to Maya and Key's team for producing such high-quality videos, really just showcasing what we're doing. Again, not just road projects, but all kinds of different elements of what City Hall does. So thank you very much.
Do you get a count of the views of your podcast? You do?
It varies a lot. Some get tens of thousands, others less, but cumulatively lots.
When she did this, she said less. What was that?
Well, Greg, you know, you're getting there. It's all about the views, right?
I was gonna say, the less might be because they can't get it up on their phones like me. It won't load, and I'm going, I wanna see this, but it's not coming up, so maybe that's the problem. Okay, can I have a?
We adjourn?
Okay.
Is there closed session?
Okay, we have closed session.
Closed session.
Okay, and someone will come out.